Whoosh! The white light dissipated and the space crumbled. Su Jingxing's consciousness returned to his body. His ears twitched, and immediately, he could hear all sorts of sound waves clearly. Su Jingxing scanned around him, matching every sound wave to a source and committing this knowledge to memory. The final step was to find out its range. As it turned out, it was a radius of 100 meters. With the help of the martial arts practice card, Su Jingxing had successfully mastered the secret ability Advanced Hearing to the point where his hearing range was 100 meters. With Su Jingxing as the center, any sound waves within a 100-meter radius could be heard. Within this range, Su Jingxing could walk without bumping into obstacles even with his eyes closed. On that note, Su Jingxing could also sense anyone or anything that entered his 100 meters hearing range. Even a mouse or a fly could not escape his senses. This was definitely a kick-ass ability. What a nice guy. Deactivating his secret ability, Su Jingxing silently expressed his gratitude to the young man who was brutally murdered by the barbarian. Who was he? Ordinary organizations could never get their hands on a secret ability like Advanced Hearing, let alone guard it. Not only did the young man obtain it, he had managed to master it. It wasn't hard to figure out that he had powerful backers. Plus, only a powerful organization could have had the resources to capture barbarians. Shaking his head, Su Jingxing put aside the stray thoughts and began familiarizing himself with the 7 steps fist, which he had achieved godlike mastery in. On the following day, he was hard at work moving corpses again. The cards he extracted were mainly strength enhancement cards and essence energy cards. Outside of work, Su Jingxing also paid attention to the affairs of Qinghe City. A day had passed, yet there was no sign of the disturbance he had predicted. No gossip reached his ears on the second day, and the third day was peaceful as well. Does that mean the barbarian corpse wasn't exposed to the public? Had the organization behind the young man managed to suppress the information in time? After pondering on it at length, that was the only plausible explanation Su Jingxing could come up with. To think they managed to suppress it so quickly. I wonder which organization is behind all this. He ended his trail of thought, deciding to not pay any more attention to the issue. At the end of the day, barbarians and whatnots were way too detached from his reality. As a nobody, it was best not to get involved in such matters. Whoosh! 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 At the back mountain of the crematorium, Su Jingxing was punching with the might of a phoenix and moving with the swiftness of a dragon. Between steps, he shifted from one stance to another. The surface of his fists was wrapped in shapeless, colorless internal force. His punches stirred the air, producing gusts of wind that fanned his sleeves and ruffled his hair. With his 7 steps fist at the highest level, Su Jingxing was finally able to hold his own in this new world. He had come to the back of the mountain to test his mastery of internal force. Bam! Without warning, he threw a quick punch at the trunk of a tree. He then leaped backward. As he was backing away, his gaze was fixed on the trunk of the tree. A second passed, then 2, then 5. Finally, at the 10th second, the trunk of the tree that had been hit by his punch burst into pieces. The tree, which had a diameter of around 50 centimeters thick, snapped midway up, throwing out myriads of wood chips. It worked. He managed to exude his internal force. Su Jingxing retracted his fist and looked at the fallen tree. His face lit up with joy. Exuding internal force, the trademark of a bona fide 8th-grade martial artist. Compared to martial artists of the same grade, the internal force exuded by Su Jingxing had a much longer retention time. It lasted for a full 10 seconds. In actual combat, it would be a piece of cake for him to deliver internal force from his fist into his opponent's body and destroy their veins and tendons. Now that he was an 8th-grade martial artist, he was another step closer to seeking revenge on Wan Rong. Huff. Su Jingxing exhaled and relaxed his body. A moment later, he scanned the scene and did a bit of cleaning up, then made a hasty exit before anyone else arrived. The days continued to pass. Days were spent moving corpses, and nights were spent practicing his advanced hearing. Every night on the way back to the small courtyard, Su Jingxing would listen to the movements around him as he rode his bicycle, memorizing all kinds of sound waves. For this secret ability, 100 meters was only the starting point. If he persevered with the stimulation, it was possible to extend his hearing range to 1,000, or even 10,000 meters. As the range increased, his corresponding tolerance would also increase. One of the fruits of his training was that Su Jingxing managed to overhear many secrets. And certain, bed activities. But let's not dwell on that. That night, after ending his shift, Su Jingxing got on his bike and rode homeward. As usual, he leisurely trained his hearing as he pedaled. At the beginning of his journey, he didn't hear anything that was out of the ordinary. However, a new heartbeat emerged after he passed by a small road. At first, Su Jingxing thought it was just a passerby and didn't give much thought to it. However, even after a few minutes, he realized that the owner of the heartbeat was still within range, behind him. Am I being followed? Su Jingxing's heart skipped a beat. Instead of immediately changing routes or pedaling faster, he continued in the same direction for a bit longer. He listened carefully and realized that the owner of the heartbeat was still there. It was time to change routes. Su Jingxing made a prompt decision. Putting his practice on pause, he swerved onto a different route. A few minutes later, he could still hear the same heartbeat close behind him. He was actually being followed. A cold gleam flashed across Su Jingxing's eyes. He picked up speed before turning into a small alley, where he chose a corner to park his bike. Then, he made a quick dash to a dark spot where he hid himself. Moments later, hurried footsteps followed. Let's find out who you are. Su Jingxing stood in the shade and strained to see the face of his stalker that was coming out of the alley. The next second. It's her. Su Jingxing raised his eyebrows. He didn't expect his stalker to be Wei Jiejie. She was Wei Zhongting's daughter, the girl he saved the previous time. She found me. Does that mean she knows I was the one who saved her? No, wait. Su Jingxing racked his brains and analyzed the situation. If Wei Jiejie knew that he was the person who had saved her, she would have paid him a direct visit at the crematorium, instead of tailing him all the way out here. Alternatively, she could have waited at the entrance of the crematorium and introduced herself once he came out. Since she hadn't done any of that, she clearly didn't know his identity. What she recognized was Su Jingxing's back view. From his back view, Wei Jiejie might have realized that Su Jingxing was his savior. However, this was all just Su Jingxing's supposition. Wei Jiejie might not be sure of his identity yet. He could simply be one of her targets. In that case, she must have followed him to confirm her theory. Having worked this out, Su Jingxing's eyes twinkled. He took out his mask, put it on, and walked out of the darkness. He couldn't carry the cloak around because it was too big, but the mask was fine. Under the street lamp, Wei Jiejie was feeling frustrated about having lost her target. She let out a helpless sigh. All of a sudden. Looking for someone? Asked Su Jingxing, lowering his voice intentionally. His voice resounded in the quiet alley. Swish. Wei Jiejie jerked her head up and looked over her shoulders. Her eyes fell on Su Jingxing, who was standing 10 meters away. She stared at his face. The back view, the height, the mask, they all matched. She was certain now. Yes. I've been looking for you. I need to talk to you, said Wei Jiejie, thrilled at the sight of Su Jingxing. She began running towards him. Don't move, said Su Jingxing coldly. You can talk from there. Wei Jiejie stopped in her tracks and drew a deep breath. First of all, I want to thank you for saving me last time. Secondly, I have a proposal. I'm not interested in your proposal. Admittedly, the skill card, 7 Steps Fist, held special meaning to him. After all, that had been the foundation to his quick growth after his transmigration. A martial artist who only had internal force and no martial arts wouldn't amount to much. On top of that, Su Jingxing loathed lowlifes who violated women. That was why Su Jingxing had stepped out and lent a helping hand when Wei Jiejia was almost violated. He considered this favor as the end to his ties with the Wei family. From then on, they should have been nothing but strangers. That being said, Su Jingxing naturally had no intention of deepening his ties with the Wei family. That's why he decided to reveal himself and clear things up with Wei Jiejia. This would also save her the trouble of more stalking and snooping around. He believed such matters ought not to be dragged. More importantly, he knew he had to be rational. How could he live his own life if he had to go around repaying the favors of every corpse he extracted? Putting all the other examples aside, take a look at the corpse puppet Mei Jinju. Su Jingxing had extracted his martial arts practice card from it. To repay that favor, wouldn't he have to find the corpse-raising insect that created the corpse puppet? That would be ridiculous. Not to mention unrealistic. To put it bluntly, extracting cards from corpses and unlocking them for rewards was no more than an act of recycling. If Wei Jiejia was hounding him because she wanted him to repay the favor, then she was clearly expecting too much. Not interested. Wait. This isn't a joke, you know, stammered Wei Jiejia. After a brief pause, she anxiously continued. I'm dead serious. So am I, replied Su Jingxing coldly. I did save you, but I was only passing by and merely did it on a whim. I don't need you to repay the favor, and I would really appreciate it if you can leave me alone from now on. He then turned around and made leave. Hold on, cried Wei Jiejia, panicking. I'm not playing around, I really have a good deal for you. Before Su Jingxing could reply, she went on. You've practiced the Wei family's 7 steps fist, so you should be well aware of its power. In truth, however, our family possesses a martial art that is even more profound, the 8 steps rising dragon. It's a peerless lightness skill. Well, here's the deal. You helped my family out a couple of times, and the 8 steps rising dragon would be all yours. Su Jingxing stopped in his tracks. 8 steps rising dragon. It does sound pretty strong. Moreover, judging from Wei Jiejia's words, it seemed to be a trade with no strings attached. At the thought of this, Su Jingxing turned around and looked at the nervous and expectant Wei Jiejia. 8 steps rising dragon, he repeated calmly. Right. The 8 steps rising dragon, confirmed Wei Jiejia with a quick nod. Actually, the 7 steps fist is also called the 7 steps long fist. This fist technique, along with the 8 steps rising dragon and a long-lost martial art called 9 step something, are the 3 ultimate techniques of my Wei family. The 9 steps martial art has already been lost, and the majority of the 7 steps one has been taught to outsiders. But the 8 steps martial art is something that only we Wei family members know. And I guarantee you that the 8 steps rising dragon is extremely powerful once mastered. Su Jingxing remained silent. Wei Jiejia waited nervously. At length, he said, same time tomorrow. Meet me at the pavilion ahead with the 8 steps rising dragon ready. Deal, agreed Wei Jiejia promptly, not daring to ask too much. After getting a response, Su Jingxing looked deeply at Wei Jiejia, then turned around and left without another word. This time, Wei Jiejia did not stop him. Standing still, she watched as Su Jingxing disappeared into the night. Only after he was far gone, she took a deep breath and let out a long sigh of relief. She finally got hold of him. Even though Su Jingxing's attitude was cold, her plan to get in contact with him had succeeded. With the value of the 8 steps rising dragon, Wei Jiejia had no doubts that Su Jingxing would get tempted. Once Su Jingxing was tempted, she would get to decide the terms of the trade. This thought gave her confidence and assuaged much of her unease. The next night, Wei Jiejia arrived at the pavilion way before the appointed time. After waiting for nearly an hour, the masked Su Jingxing finally turned up. "Here's the original copy of the 8 Steps Rising Dragon," said Wei Jiejia. Without delay, she handed Su Jingxing an ancient manual wrapped in a beast skin scroll. Su Jingxing didn't take it immediately. Instead, he stared at Wei Jiejia with a strange look and said indifferently, "Aren't you afraid that I might go back on my word after taking the secret manual? I could kill you right here, or make off with the secret manual, you know." "There's no reason to be afraid," said Wei Jiejia with a smile. "Firstly, there are no benefits in killing me. On the contrary, it'll draw the attention of the Dagger Gang and the public security team. There's no need for me to explain why it would be a bad idea to get on the bad side of the public security team. The Dagger Gang, on the other hand, is a big organization that's plotting against my family business. My younger brother knows about our meeting tonight, and if I were to die, he would report this incident to the Dagger Gang. I doubt you want a life where both the evil and the righteous side are putting a bounty on your head. Secondly, if you make off with the secret manual, it's no big loss for me either. I'll just treat it as paying you back for saving me last time. After all, if you turn me down here, we won't be able to guard the 8 Steps Rising Dragon anyway. Rather than handing it over to the Dagger Gang, I thought it's better to let you have it. And thirdly, I trust you." After saying what she had to say in one go, Wei Jiejia grinned at Su Jingxing as she waited for his reply. After hearing this, Su Jingxing looked at Wei Jiejia seriously for the first time. He had a newfound respect for the young girl standing before him. Even though it was obvious that Wei Jiejia had left some things unsaid, Su Jingxing could tell that she was bold and intellectual just from the 3 points she listed. Or was scheming a better way to put it. According to Wei Jiejia, the 8 Steps Rising Dragon was a powerful lightness skill. If she was telling the truth, she could bring this peerless lightness skill to the Black Tiger Gang, the Flying Cloud sect, or even the government to seek protection. Yet she chose to give it to Su Jingxing, whom she had only met once. From this, he could tell that she was a scheming girl. The reason was simple: government protection for her and her brother wouldn't last 24/7. On top of that, she wouldn't hold her breath for them to help the Wei family flourish and seek vengeance for them. The Black Tiger Gang and the Flying Cloud sect were even more practical. Once they got their hands on the 8 Steps Rising Dragon, they would almost certainly toss them aside. Even if, on the off chance, the Black Tiger Gang and the Flying Cloud sect made good on their promise and helped her keep the coveters of Wei family's businesses, like the Dagger Gang, at bay, it wouldn't last for long. Once the protection was effectively over, the members of the Dagger Gang would definitely come look for Wei Jiejia and her younger brother again. She wouldn't put any underhanded methods past them. They wouldn't kill the Wei siblings openly, but they had all kinds of underhanded methods to drive them crazy. Su Jingxing was a different story. Firstly, as Wei Jiejia had said, he had already saved her once. There was a foundation of trust between them. Secondly, Su Jingxing's performance last time had given Wei Jiejia hope. So much so that it didn't matter whether Su Jingxing was a lone wolf or had a powerful backer behind him. Su Jingxing was her best shot at protecting and developing the Wei family. Of course, this wasn't a risk-free gamble for Wei Jiejia. But she showed courage and placed her bet on Su Jingxing. And as it turned out, she won. After a brief silence, Su Jingxing took the 8 Steps Rising Dragon's secret manual from her hands and leafed through it. His pupils constricted immediately. Wei Jiejia wasn't lying, this was indeed an exceptional lightness skill. There were many kinds of lightness skills. Some involved floating over great heights, some granted phantom-like movement, some were burst-like gap closers, and some could sprint across long distances. Every lightness skill had its own advantages. 8 Steps Rising Dragon was likewise. However, as compared to other lightness skills, the 8 Steps Rising Dragon had more advantages since it had 3 attributes. The martial art allowed one to float over great heights, move like a phantom, and fly across long distances. That's right, it wasn't just sprinting, but flying. Once mastered, the 8 steps rising dragon allowed one to fly in the sky. To do that, however, he had to fulfill 2 conditions first. Firstly, his dantian had to be able to produce true energy. Secondly, he needed to produce enough of it. Producing true energy was the trademark of a 6th grade martial artist. In other words, before he reached the 6th grade, even if he managed to master the 8 steps rising dragon, he would only be able to sprint on the ground. He had to hit 6th grade before he could take off from the ground. That was the unique characteristic of the 8 steps rising dragon, as well as where its strength lay. In Su Jingxing's opinion, even if the 8 steps rising dragon couldn't allow a practitioner below 6th grade to fly in the sky, it was still considered a profound martial art. This was because the agile and phantom-like attributes of 8 steps rising dragon reminded him of wave-like subtle, steps 1. In terms of agile movements, it was 10 folds better than 7 steps fist. The only downside to the 8 steps rising dragon was that it had a range limit of 8 steps. A shame, to be sure. The saving grace was that 8 steps rising dragon was easy to learn. Even though it was easy, there was a prerequisite: he had to comprehend it first. The secret manual not only contained relevant information, but also accompanying illustrations. Anyone could understand the illustrations, but the content was a different story. Su Jingxing could only understand it thanks to his increased soul power. Before that, he would have no problems understanding the individual words, but sentences would be beyond his level of understanding. It was just like Old Chinese: anyone could read an individual word after being taught how to, but they would be at a loss if asked to decipher a compound word. The Wei family had always guarded the 8 steps rising dragon's secret existence from outsiders. This had to do with a number of factors. The long and short of it was, the Wei family themselves had not seen many kinsmen who fully mastered the 8 steps rising dragon. No one knew about the distant past, but in recent decades, the only Wei kinsman who advanced to the 6th grade was Wei Jiejia's grandfather. As to whether he managed to master the 8 steps rising dragon when he was alive, Su Jingxing didn't know. Chances were, he didn't. Even if he did, he probably only had a basic understanding of the martial art, and never used it before others. If the existence of an advanced lightness skill like the 8 steps ascending dragon were to leak out, it could easily bring trouble to its keeper. Su Jingxing kept that in mind. After browsing through the secret manual, he decided to proceed with the deal with Wei Jiejia. "It's not a bad lightness skill," said Su Jingxing. He closed the secret manual and said calmly, "Make your offer." 10. Wei Jiejia's eyes lit up. "In exchange for this, I want you to help us out 10. Su Jingxing broke in. "Make it 3. Wei Jiejia opened her mouth, then gritted her teeth. 3 times is too little. I won't take anything below 8. 3. 3 times is simply not enough, complained Wei Jiejia, stamping her feet. Then, almost coquettishly, she said, "If 8 times is too much, how about 5? 3, said Su Jingxing nonchalantly. 3 requests, no more, no less. And I get to decide whether I want to fulfill a particular request." Wei Jiejia was at a loss for words. Resisting the urge to curse, she drew a deep breath and said reluctantly, "Well. If you don't like the terms, we can call the deal off," interjected Su Jingxing. "I agree that the 8 steps rising dragon is an excellent martial art, but it's not good enough for me to sign a slave contract with the Wei family." Wei Jiejia was at a loss for words again. "You must be misunderstanding something," said Wei Jiejia, clenching her fists and forcing out a smile. "This is a fair trade, not." "I'll be the judge of that," said Su Jingxing calmly, maintaining his indifference. "I have but one condition. I'll fulfill 3 requests of yours, and I get to decide whether to accept a particular request. If you don't like the sound of that, the deal is off. And don't worry, I won't take the 8 steps rising dragon by force." He handed the secret manual back to Wei Jejia. Wei Jejia remained still. Her mind was in a mess and her chest was heaving up and down. She had lost control over the situation. Or rather, she had never been in charge from the beginning. She was never the one calling the shots. Initially, she thought that once she took out the 8 steps rising dragon, Su Jingxing would take the bait immediately. She did not expect Su Jingxing to remain cool and collected even after seeing the 8 steps rising dragon. In fact, he had been frighteningly calm throughout their interaction. That made Wei Jejia feel a strong sense of defeat. If Su Jingxing didn't take the bait, all her scheming would be futile. Wei Jejia couldn't wrap her head over his behavior. How could Su Jingxing be cool as a cucumber in the face of a secret martial art manual like the 8 Steps Rising Dragon? Little did she know Su Jingxing was indeed tempted. However, even though he was tempted, Su Jingxing did not deign to take orders from others just for the sake of a martial art. The 8 Steps Rising Dragon was indeed powerful. However, in time, Su Jingxing would eventually be able to extract a similar, or even more powerful, martial art from one of those corpses. During this period of time, Su Jingxing had figured out some patterns regarding his extraction ability. Skill cards that contained martial arts all came from martial artists. The stronger a martial artist and the higher his realm, the better the grade of the martial art that could be extracted from his body. The reason why Su Jingxing only obtained the 7 steps fist so far was because stronger martial artists had lower chances of dying. However, there were many old martial artists who had achieved high realms in Qinghe City. In anywhere from 3 to a dozen years, they would doubtlessly die of old age. When that time comes, Su Jingxing would have all the opportunities in the world to get near their corpses and extract skill cards from them. The only reason why Su Jingxing agreed to the deal with Wei Jejia was because he didn't want to wait that long. If Wei Jejia found his conditions unacceptable, Su Jingxing wouldn't force her either. He was a man of his own principles. So is it a yes or no? Just say the word. Su Jingxing waited for a while, then broke the silence. If you are not willing to do this, please, he started indifferently. I'll do it, said Wei Jejia, coming back to her senses. She gritted her teeth and yielded. Fine. 3 requests, and you get to decide whether you fulfill a particular one. Su Jingxing smiled beneath his mask. Retracting his hand, he stored away the 8 Steps Rising Dragon secret manual. He deliberately deepened his voice while maintaining his nonchalant attitude. State your first request. I want you to throw down the gauntlet at Chen Xiaodao. Wei Jejia took a deep breath, her face growing solemn. I want you to issue a challenge to the leader of Dagger Gang, Chen Xiaodao, in the name of my eldest senior brother, Duan Feihong. During the fight, I want you to kill him. Sure, said Su Jingxing after giving it some thought. When, and where? Noontime, the day after tomorrow. I'm not free at that time, interrupted Su Jingxing. He had shifts on that day. What about 3 days from now, ventured Wei Jejia. That can be done. Huff. Wei Jejia took a deep breath and continued. The time would be set at 3 in the afternoon, 3 days from now. As for the location, it would be held at a small square outside the entrance of my family dojo. I will put up an arena there. In the U-Nation. More accurately, in most countries on Earth Star, private fights were generally prohibited. However, there were no rules on fights behind closed doors. As long as no citizenry was disturbed or harmed in the process, they could pretty much fight to their heart's content. Therefore, fights between syndicates usually took place at remote places. For example, after the last clash between the Black Tiger Gang and the Flying Cloud sect, Su Jingxing had collected the corpses from an abandoned construction site. Fighting at public areas, the main drags, schools, and so on were strictly off-limits. To keep the martial artists in check, the U-Nation had specially set up an agency. The Martial Suppression Office. Security teams were only in charge of handling matters like ordinary fights, petty theft, family disputes, and so on. The Martial Suppression Office was what ensured the stability of the various cities in the U-Nation. Dojos, sects, martial arts families, underground syndicates, independent cultivator alliances. All martial artists were under the jurisdiction of the Martial Suppression Office. There were many ordinary people in the security team, but the Martial Suppression Office consisted of only martial artists. Even the weakest members among them were 9th grade. As for the strongest, Su Jingxing only knew that the rank 1 expert in Qinghe City was the commander of city governance of the Martial Suppression Office, Li Linzhou. He was a 4th grade martial artist. Under his command, there were 5th grade commissioners of defense, 6th grade chiefs of control, 7th grade commissioners of command, and 8th grade generals. These titles were held by an unknown number of people. Under most circumstances, it was rare for ordinary people to even see them in person. But there were special circumstances that made that possible. One of them was an arena match, much like the one Wei Jiejia was organizing. Even though the U-Nation generally forbade private fights, it did provide martial artists a chance to settle their grudges. In the arena, under the supervision of the Martial Suppression Office, rivaling martial artists could participate in an organized arena deathmatch. To organize an arena match, Wei Jiejia had to first submit a report to the Martial Suppression Office. During the match, the Martial Suppression Office would send supervisors to the venue. The procedures of the event were up to Wei Jiejia to decide. All Su Jingxing had to do was show up on time to attend the arena fight. The two quickly went on their separate ways after sealing the deal. Before parting ways, Su Jingxing exchanged phone numbers with Wei Jiejia, using a phone card, which did not leave any caller IDs, he bought that morning. He also asked her to send him a photo of her eldest senior brother Duan Feihong when she got home. Wei Jiejia did not know his intentions but agreed anyway. As soon as she reached home, she dug out a photo that was left behind by her eldest senior brother and took a picture of it, then sent it to Su Jingxing. After receiving the message, Su Jingxing immediately got down to work. Using one of his previous loots, the human skin mask, he began disguising his features with Duan Feihong's facial features as reference. After putting in some serious effort, he successfully took on the appearance of Duan Feihong. The resemblance was around 70%. Since Duan Feihong had long hair when he left Qinghe City, Su Jingxing made the special effort to buy a long hair wig the next day. It came with a fake scalp as well. After returning home, he continued to work on his disguise. Finally, the resemblance was now about 80%. While Wei Jiejia nursed a grudge against the Dagger Gang, Su Jingxing didn't. Killing Chen Xiaodao was only part of the deal. Naturally, he did not want to make enemies with the Dagger Gang and have them going after his ass and tracking his every movement. However, now that he had disguised himself as Duan Feihong, this worry was out of the window. Even in the worst-case scenario where he loses to Chen Xiaodao or lets him get away, he wouldn't be the one the Dagger Gang looks for when they try to settle the scores. Wei Jiejia might have her own schemes, but Su Jingxing was also well prepared. In the past 2 days, apart from moving corpses, Su Jingxing also practiced the 8-step rising dragon. The peerless lightness skill proved rather easy to learn after he comprehended it. All he needed to do was follow the instructions on the illustrations and set up an internal force network within his body. After that, he could expend his internal force to execute the martial art. Su Jingxing mastered the basics after a night of practice. To test his progress, he executed the martial art in his courtyard. As he was taking the 8 steps, he was moving almost like a shifting shadow. Su Jingxing was yet another step closer to taking revenge on Wan Rong. As for Chen Xiaodao, Su Jingxing was confident he could take him down. At this point, 7th grade martial artists could not pose much of a threat to him. Due to the consistent intake of strength pills, Su Jingxing's hands had both already exceeded 7,000 caddies of power. With his 7 steps fist at the highest level, he could unleash nearly 50,000 caddies of power at once. Su Jingxing believed that was enough to send Chen Xiaodao to an early grave. Therefore, Su Jingxing was very calm about the fight on the following day. In the afternoon, he worked leisurely in the crematorium as usual, moving corpses from one place to another. Kong de Bao smiled at his mannerism. "Let me in on the good news, little Su. Share some joy with me." "What are you on about?" asked Su Jingxing, unsure of how to react. "I'm not doing anything different from usual." "That may be so, but you seem especially laid back today." Kong de Bao raised an eyebrow. "Did your little girlfriend?" "Ah." Kong de Bao was interrupted by a blood-curdling scream that came from ahead. "What the heck?" Kong de Bao frowned. That voice sounded familiar. "Only one way to find out," said Su Jingxing as he moved towards the direction of the scream. The two of them had just returned from transporting a corpse to the incinerator room. Upon hearing the familiar scream, they immediately put their work aside and went to check out what was going on. From a distance away, he could see a throng gathered outside the entrance of the farewell ceremony hall. The crematorium staff was having a standoff with a group of people. Su Jingxing and Kong de Bao walked over and jostled their way through the crowd. A member from Corpse Collection Team 2 lay on the ground, screaming in agony. The elderly corpse collector's right leg was broken, and his left arm was bent to 90 degrees. White bones were showing. A ghastly sight. Old Lu. Kong de Bao's eyes reddened. Who did this? Who the F***ck did this? It's them. A crematorium staff pointed at a group of arrogant martial artists who were sneering. He gritted his teeth and said, "All old Lu did was bump into a child by mistake and they broke his hands and feet. King piece of." Just as Kong de Bao was about to fly into a rage, the manager of the crematorium rushed over and shouted, "Stop. Everybody stop." "They crossed the line, Uncle Wang," said Kong de Bao, turning around to look at the comer. "I know. Stay out of this. I'll take care of it." The crematorium manager, Manager Wang, was looking livid. He gazed towards the other party at a long-faced man in his 30s. "Don't you think you went overboard, President Chen?" he said in a deep voice. "Overboard?" The long-faced man didn't even bat an eyelid. "The sad sack hurt my son. He should be glad I only broke his arms and legs. If I wanted to go overboard." "What would you have done instead?" demanded the crematorium director in a booming voice as he made his way towards the group. "Ho! To think even Director Wu is alarmed over such a small matter." The long-faced man glanced at the crematorium director and said unhurriedly, "Aren't you a busy man, Director Wu? Nothing on your schedule today?" Director Wu was a man of medium build with graying hair. He drew a deep breath and shot an icy stare at the long-faced man. "Chen Xiaodao. Don't be too arrogant, or you are bound to die an ugly death someday." Chen Xiaodao. The long-faced man was Chen Xiaodao, the president of the Dagger Gang. The man he was going to fight on the next day. Su Jingxing, who had been silent all this while, couldn't help but look at the long-faced man. A cold glint flashed across his eyes. An ugly death? Chen Xiaodao paid no attention to Su Jingxing, Kong de Bao, and the others. Instead, his gaze fell on the director of the Western District Crematorium, Wu Shuhan. "You are talking about my match tomorrow, aren't you?" he sneered. "Word sure spread fast. I didn't expect a busy person like you to know about it." "So? You think I'm going to lose?" "No, what was it again, die an ugly death tomorrow? You think Duan Feihong's got the fight in the bag after leaving for a few years?" "Don't put words into my mouth," said Wu Shuhan coldly. "I'm not interested in shooting the breeze with you, Chen Xiaodao. Your guys over there did a number on old Lu. I want a solution." "A what?" "A solution?" Chen Xiaodao snorted. "The prole hurt my son first. Am I expected to compensate him? That's not true. It was you who. Hush, blared Wu Shuhan, cutting the explaining staff short. He took a step forward and glared at Qin Xiaodao. So what you are saying is, you are not going to do anything about what happened to old Lu. What are you going to do about it? Asked Qin Xiaodao with a sinister smile. He held Wu Shuhan's gaze without the slightest fear. Even though Wu Shuhan wasn't weaker than Qin Xiaodao in terms of aura, the latter was a grade above him when it came to cultivation realms. Qin Xiaodao was a 7th grade while Wu Shuhan was only an 8th grade. However, Wu Shuhan wasn't a nobody. He was the director of the crematorium, a civil servant of Qinghe City. Hitting only 8th grade at his martial arts realm was certainly considered low for his age. In this lifetime, he could forget about entering the 7th grade, let alone 6th grade. However, that didn't stop Wu Shuhan from making connections. After decades of keeping his nose on the grindstone, the old man had established many connections. That included officials, businessmen, martial artists, and even military personnel. Qin Xiaodao dared to break old Lu's arm and leg, but he didn't dare to do anything to Wu Shuhan. That was why Wu Shuhan dared to face him down. If crematorium staff like Kong De Bao, Su Jingxing, or the others offended Qin Xiaodao, they would definitely suffer retaliation in the future. Wu Shuhan wasn't afraid of that. The old man's face was expressionless, and his eyes were cold. All I want is justice to be served. Since you don't want to settle this privately, I'll have to ask Commissioner Qi over to be our judge. Oh, I almost forgot. Old Wang, fetch me the security camera footage, ordered Wu Shuhan. Right away. Manager Wang nodded, turned, and made to leave. Hold it, said Qin Xiaodao uncomfortably. When Manager Wang stopped in his tracks, Qin Xiaodao glared at Wu Shuhan and said in a deep voice, "Looks like you've got a soft spot for your employees, Director Wu." Wu Shuhan ignored him and looked at Manager Wang instead. Frowning, he said, "Old Wang, what are you standing there for?" "Yes, Director." "I'm on it," said Manager Wang, stifling a laugh as he strode away. "I said hold it." The veins at the corner of Qin Xiaodao's eyes twitched. He gritted his teeth and shouted, "Fine. You want compensation, right? 200,000 great dollars should suffice for an arm and a leg, yeah." "Far from it," said Wu Shuhan, his face void of emotion. "At least 500,000. Fine. 500,000 it shall be." Qin Xiaodao ground his teeth and said coldly, "I'll arrange someone to bring 500,000 great dollars over right away." With that, he turned around and left. Seeing this, his group of subordinates dared not linger on and quickly tagged along behind him. The noisy bunch disappeared into the corner. "Uncle Wu, are we going to let them go just like that?" asked Kong De Bao glumly, his eyes fixed on the end of the corridor. "What do you propose, then?" retorted Manager Wang irritably. "It's plenty good that the director managed to make Qin Xiaodao cough up the money." Then, he looked towards the ground at old Lu, who was starting to get woozy. He uttered an encouragement. "Hang in there, old Lu. The ambulance will be here soon." "Yeah, old Lu. You must not fall asleep here. The director has secured 500,000 great dollars for you. It's not the time to sleep. Old Lu, hang in there." The others came back to their senses and began cheering old Lu on to prevent him from losing consciousness. I won't sleep," promised old Lu, shivering, his face pale as a sheet. Su Jingxing stood at the side and studied him. Mixed feelings bubbled up inside him. To some martial artists, ordinary folks like old Lu were nothing but personal punching bags. On the Earth Star, human nations had already chased their nemesis, barbarians, into the boundless mountain range. But that didn't mean the nations were at peace. There were often conflicts between nations, and small-scale wars broke out from time to time. The U nation also had enemy nations, as well as hidden threats within its borders. Putting the calamity caused by the extraterrestrial devil insects aside, there were the evil organizations that would cause a huge commotion from time to time. That being said, it was still a stable nation overall. Among all the countries, U country was ranked third in terms of safety. However, even in such a safe country, the citizenry was often harassed and bullied by martial artists. Most ordinary people dared not provoke martial artists. The strength and authority of the Martial Suppression Office was the only thing that kept the situation under control. This reflection made Su Jingxing reach a conclusion: the only way to not get bullied was to become strong. 7th or 6th grade was far from enough. The only way to decide his own fate was by reaching the 1st grade. Wan Rong. He was nothing but a temporary obstacle in Su Jingxing's journey to 1st grade. Soon, the ambulance arrived, and out came a couple of doctors who carefully moved old Lu onto the stretcher and carried him into the ambulance. Manager Wang and the leader of corpse collection team 2 got on the ambulance and accompanied him to the hospital. Su Jingxing and Kong de Bao continued transporting corpses. After the incident, Kong de Bao was in a huff for a long time, cursing from the Dagger Gang to Chen Xiaodao as he moved the corpses. From his cursing, Su Jingxing learned that the child old Lu had accidentally bumped into was Chen Xiaodao's godson. Back when Chen Xiaodao was younger, he suffered an injury in his lower regions that left him infertile. Owing to that, he adopted 3 godsons. Under his tutelage, his 3 godsons were all full of themselves. Roughing up other students, verbally abusing teachers, and bullying girls in school were par for the course with them. This time as well, the kid had bumped into old Lu first before falling over. Yet, the young imp falsely accused old Lu of knocking him down. Without bothering to find out the truth, Chen Xiaodao ordered his subordinates to break old Lu's arm and leg. The only silver lining was that the incident happened at the entrance of the farewell ceremony hall, which was under video surveillance. Had it happened outside, old Lu would have gotten nothing in return for his broken arm and leg. Chen Xiaodao had come to the crematorium with his band of hoodlums to bemoan the death of his right-hand man. In truth, however, he had only shown up at the farewell ceremony to maintain the facade of someone who valued brotherhood. This decision ended up putting old Lu through hell. If it wasn't for Wu Shuhan, old Lu would have had nowhere to report the wrongs that had been done to him. As far as Su Jingxing was concerned, killing a person like Chen Xiaodao would be akin to enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens. Wei Jiejia had only managed to trade the 8 steps rising dragon with Su Jingxing for 3 requests. Given the limited amount of chances, she had to make the most out of every request. Therefore, as soon as Su Jingxing agreed to her first request, Wei Jiejia immediately began spreading the news, to those who were either coveting the Wei family's business or watching from the sidelines, that the Wei family was ready to strike back. And the first step of that was challenging Chen Xiaodao to a public fight. Well, to be precise, he had to kill Chen Xiaodao during a public fight while disguised as the Wei family dojo's eldest senior brother, Duan Feihong. Nothing would serve better as a warning to the other coveters than Chen Xiaodao's death. Wei Jiejia's intentions were well understood by most of the people who caught wind of the news. Therefore, on the afternoon of the following day, a throng had gathered at the small square before the Wei family dojo even before the fight's appointed starting time. On the spectator stands put up by Wei Jiejia, the supervisors sent by the Martial Suppression Office had been on standby for a long time. Other than these people, some representatives from the Black Tiger Gang, the parent organization of Dagger Gang, had also come to spectate. If it isn't Commissioner Qi. I have to say, I'm surprised you are here for this petty fight, said Huang Boyi, a branch master from the Black Tiger Gang. He was ensconced in a chair, addressing a muscular yellow-faced man with a smile. My duty calls me here, answered Qi Zhaochen, a 7th-grade martial artist who was the commissioner of command of the Martial Suppression Office's Western District branch. Ha! Most certainly so, said Huang Boyi, laughing ingratiatingly. Unfortunately, I'm afraid this fight is going to be a waste of your precious time. Heh! You think Chen Xiaodao's got it in the bag, Branch Master Huang? Asked Qi Zhaochen, smiling. I can see why Branch Master Huang has so much confidence in Chen Xiaodao. However, I'm more interested in Duan Feihong. An old man with a long beard interjected. It's been 8 years since Duan Feihong left the city for the world outside. With his talents, it's possible that he reached 7th, or even the 6th grade. Ha! If he's at 6th grade, then Chen Xiaodao is in for it, commented Wu Shuhan with a hearty laugh. That's right, old Wu was also present. Chen Xiaodao had been a loose cannon for years, and old Wu had always been disapproving of his actions. Just yesterday, he had ordered his men to break old Lu's hand and leg. Among the spectators, Wu Shuhan was, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the person who wanted Chen Xiaodao dead the most. 6th grade. Huang Boyi chuckled. If Duan Feihong is really 6th grade, he would have mounted an attack on the Dagger Gang on his first day back. Oh. So you are suggesting that Duan Feihong is only at 7th grade, Branch Master Huang? Asked the long-bearded elder, raising an eyebrow. We'll know whether he's 7th grade or 6th grade later, said Qi Zhaochen coolly. That's right. We will know the answer soon enough, said Wu Shuhan, clenching his fist. Sis, is he here yet? Inside the Wei family's dojo, Wei Jieping was pacing up and down. Every once in a while, he consulted the electronic display mounted on the wall. He said he'll be here soon, said Wei Jiejia. She was also a little on edge. At this stage, nothing was in her control anymore. All she could do was pray for Su Jingxing's victory. Otherwise, the Wei family would really be done for. You keep saying that, but it's almost time already. Why isn't he here yet? Complained Wei Jieping anxiously. What's wrong with this guy? If he agreed to the deal, why not just stay at the dojo? Wei Jiejia was at a loss for words again. She would have loved to accommodate Su Jingxing at the dojo, but she didn't even know his name or appearance. Hold on. A sudden thought made Wei Jiejia's heart skip a beat. She had issued a challenge at Chen Xiaodao under her eldest senior brother's name, but what if Su Jingxing appeared in a mask later? During their 3 encounters, Su Jingxing had always worn a mask. Clearly, he was very secretive about his true identity. It hadn't been much of an issue previously, but things might get tricky if he comes to the public match masked, no? Wei Jiejia herself didn't care about the mask, but that didn't mean others would be as forgiving. What if they refused to acknowledge that he's eldest senior brother? What if they asked him to remove the mask? Wouldn't that expose everything? After all, there were many people who were acquainted with eldest senior brother. These thoughts made Wei Jiejia panic. Oh no, what do we do if that? Eldest senior brother? Wei Jieping burst out in surprise. Sis, eldest senior brother is here. He really did come back. He just came in through the back door. Huh? Snapping out of her disorientation, Wei Jiejia froze momentarily before looking over her shoulders at the back door. And sure as day, there was a man dressed in loose martial arts attire who looked exactly like eldest senior brother. Wait, is that really eldest senior brother? Did he really come back? Wei Jiejia was struck dumb. What? Am I late? Asked Su Jingxing coolly in his deliberately deepened voice, his eyes meeting Wei Jiejia's blank gaze. You. Eldest senior brother, you're finally back. That's awesome. Wei Jieping broke in excitedly before Wei Jiejia could finish her sentence. Eldest senior brother. You came back in the nick of time. So many things have happened lately, and Sis and I are at our wits' end. Thank goodness you have returned. Now we don't need any hired guns. Let's back out on the deal with that guy and get our secret manual back. Now that you are back, we can take care of Chen Xiaodao and the Dagger Gang by ourselves. Speaking of which, what grade are you at now, eldest senior brother? 6th, perhaps. If so, killing Chen Xiaodao would be a walk in the park for you, wouldn't it? Ha ha ha. This is all just too great. Wei Jieping's face was full of excitement. He could not contain his joy as he danced and laughed out loud. At first, Su Jingxing chalked Wei Jiejia's younger brother's behavior up to a lively and bubbly personality, thinking that he had quickly warmed up to him despite it being their first encounter. However, as he rambled on, Su Jingxing realized that he had mistaken him as the real Duan Feihong. With the aid of the human skin mask, Su Jingxing looked 80% similar to how Duan Feihong looked when he left a few years ago. It had been years since they last met, and it was normal for Wei Jieping, in his state of excitement, to not be able to tell he was a fraud. If Su Jingxing were in his shoes, he might have done just the same. Looking at Wei Jiejia's dazed expression, it was obvious that she was fooled by his disguise as well. Cough, Su Jingxing gave a light cough and spoke calmly in a studied voice. Sorry, but I have no idea what grade your eldest senior brother is at. As for the 8 steps rising dragon, I will return it to you after completing your third request. Huh. The words came to the excited Wei Jieping like a bolt from the blue. Struck dumb, he stood rooted to the ground with his mouth agape. Wei Jiejia was less shocked. As soon as she heard the familiar voice, she realized that the eldest senior brother before them was the expert who received her 8 steps rising dragon. Even so, she could not help but let out a deep sigh. She too was convinced that eldest senior brother was back. She never expected that eldest senior brother before her to be Su Jingxing in disguise. His disguise techniques were out of this world. To think that she was worried about Su Jingxing exposing his identity in the arena a moment ago. But who would have thought? Huff. Wei Jiejia had to take 3 deep breaths in a row before restoring her composure. And no hurry. She smiled stiffly. There's no rush in returning the secret manual. What's important is the imminent arena fight. Are you? Relax. I'm fully prepared, said Su Jingxing coolly. Before I step into the arena, there's something I want to check. How would you like Chen Xiaodao to die? Emichem? Wei Jiejia quickly snapped out of her initial daze. I want him to die an ugly death. The words, filled with hatred, came out through gritted teeth. An ugly death? Su Jingxing recalled hearing the same words from Director Wu. Got it, Su Jingxing nodded calmly and walked towards the main door. It's about time for me to step into the arena. I'll come with you, said Wei Jiejia, falling into step beside him. Wei Jieping remained rooted at the spot, wearing an expression that combined shock, astonishment, and disbelief on his face. He really isn't eldest senior brother. In the small square at the entrance of the dojo, cheers erupted as Duan Feihong made his appearance. He's here. Duan Feihong is here. Duan Feihong has entered the arena. Where's Chen Xiaodao? Why hasn't he shown up yet? TSK, could it be that Chen Xiaodao is getting cold feet? Come. Place your bets. The place was boisterous with shouts, laughter, squabbling, and other noises. As Su Jingxing took the stage, the cheering reached its peak. Curiously, Chen Xiaodao was nowhere to be seen, even though it was past the appointed time. On that note, not a single member from the Dagger Gang was present. It almost seemed like Chen Xiaodao really chickened out. What's going on? In the spectator stands, Wu Shuhan frowned and said, what is Chen Xiaodao up to? Is he really so scared of Duan Feihong that he refuses to show up? Huang Boyi also frowned and said huskily, I'll phone him to see what's going on. Although Chen Xiaodao was not one of his men, the Dagger Gang served the Black Tiger Gang and paid tribute to it monthly. If Chen Xiaodao really chickened out, the Black Tiger Gang's reputation would be affected as well. Even though it wouldn't have a huge direct impact on their reputation, the Flying Cloud sect, Black Tiger Gang's sworn enemy, would definitely publicize the news to embarrass the Black Tiger Gang. Therefore, Huang Boyi did not allow Chen Xiaodao to back out. He had to show up in the arena, even if that meant getting killed. If Chen Xiaodao died during the fight, they could easily replace the president of the Dagger Gang with someone else. Beep, beep. The call went through, but no one answered. What on earth is Chen Xiaodao doing? Huang Boyi creased his eyebrows. He hung up and phoned another number. That was when Wu Shuhan's phone rang, followed by the phones of Qi Zhaochen, the long-bearded old man, and a few others. Before Huang Boyi's second call went through, he received an incoming call. Wu Shuhan and the others exchanged a look, then answered their phones. The next moment. What? Are you sure this intel can be trusted? All of them died. Not a single survivor. Huang Boyi, Wu Shuhan, and the long-bearded old man sprung up to their feet, their expressions changing. Qi Zhaochen was even more extreme. Right after answering the call, he leaped down the spectator stand and dashed into the distance, treading on the heads of other spectators. Huang Boyi followed suit after ending his call. The long-bearded old man, Wu Shuhan, and the others did the same. This sudden turn of events caused the spectators to exclaim in alarm. What's going on? Did something happen? Beats me. Why are all the big shots taking off all of a sudden? Seems like they were talking on the phone just now. The confused crowd gathered together to exchange opinions. Wei Jiejia, who had just picked up the megaphone and was about to address the crowd, was equally dumbfounded. She glanced at the empty spectator stand, not knowing what to do. What's going on, sis? Asked Wei Jieping, confused. He had just come out of the dojo. I don't know, said Wei Jiejia blankly. Why did Commissioner Qi and the rest take off? It's strange enough that Chen Xiaodao did not show up. Because Chen Xiaodao is dead, said Su Jingxing. He too had treaded over the heads of others as he exited the arena to meet up with the Wei siblings. We'd find out what's going on if we drop by the headquarters of Dagger Gang. Huh, murmured Wei Jiejia, stunned. What? Chen Xiaodao is dead. No kidding, exclaimed Wei Jieping. Only one way to find out. Su Jingxing frowned. Let's put everything else aside. Do you guys own a car? Yes, we do, replied Wei Jieping, nodding. He turned around and made for the dojo to get the car keys. Wei Jiejia stood rooted to the ground blank-faced, not knowing what to make of the whole situation. Chen Xiaodao died. Why must he die at this point in time? In order to deal with him, she even sacrificed the 8 steps rising dragon. And now, he just went ahead and dropped dead right as the match was about to start. If Chen Xiaodao had died, then wouldn't all her recent suffering, depression, helplessness, grievance, scheming, and tears have all been for nothing? She found it hard to swallow. This turn of events was too much for Wei Jiejia to take in. Su Jingxing saw her reaction, but made no attempt at consoling her. Wei Jiejia didn't need his consolation either. Besides, Wei Jiejia wasn't the only one that was shocked by the news. Su Jingxing himself was equally caught by surprise. The crowd around the arena could not have heard what Huang Boyi, Wu Shuhan, and the others were saying on the phone, but Su Jingxing could. The calls they received carried the same message. The Dagger Gang had been wiped out. All of its members, including Chen Xiaodao, were found dead in its headquarters. This was a major case. A case that was enough to shake the entire Western District. No one knows who committed the massacre. Out of curiosity, Su Jingxing couldn't help but take a few more glances at Wei Jiejia. Once Wei Jieping pulled up, the two of them got into the car and headed straight for the headquarters of Dagger Gang. Noticing that Wei Jiejia had come back to her senses, Su Jingxing asked, "Was it your doing?" "What? What are you talking about?" asked Wei Jiejia, confused. "Chen Xiaodao." "The Dagger Gang," said Su Jingxing succinctly. "Did you hire people other than me?" "Why you think I hired someone to wipe out the Dagger Gang?" asked Wei Jiejia, having comprehended the question. She smiled helplessly. "If I had that much influence, why would I have given up the 8 steps rising dragon? But it's undeniable that the Dagger Gang got annihilated, commented Wei Jieping from the driver's seat. It really wasn't my doing, said Wei Jiejia irritably. She wrapped her hands around her head. I couldn't have employed anyone. Not with the limited ability and resources at my disposal. Just this morning, I contacted Chen Xiaodao and asked him to arrive on time. Who would have expected? Wei Jieping kept quiet. Su Jingxing also frowned and remained silent. In the morning, Chen Xiaodao was still alive. Yet he was dead by late noon. This meant that Chen Xiaodao and his subordinates were killed at around noon. A huge group of people were killed within their headquarters, and no one even heard a sound. It wasn't until a few minutes ago that their bodies were discovered. The murderer could not have been anyone ordinary. Su Jingxing pondered. Wei Jieping stepped on the gas as the trio traveled in silence. Before long, they were at the Dagger Gang headquarters. It was a 5-story building. The entrance to the building and the roads on its sides had been cordoned off by the public security team. Wei Jieping saw the barricades and pulled up at one end of the road. After getting out of the car, they made a beeline for the building. Just as an officer was about to stop the trio from entering the cordoned area, Qi Zhaochen walked out of the building. When he saw them, he immediately asked the security team officer to let them through. Good timing. Follow me inside and have a look around. Maybe you can find a clue or two, said Qi Zhaochen coolly. Without waiting for a reply, he turned around and led the way. What kind of clue does he expect us amateurs to find? Whispered Wei Jieping uncomprehendingly. Su Jingxing ignored him. Wei Jieping might have missed Qi Zhaochen's unspoken message, but not Su Jingxing. They were marked as suspects. Simply put, it was too much of a coincidence. Duan Feihong was to fight Chen Xiaodao in an arena match at late noon, and at noon on the same day, Chen Xiaodao had been murdered, along with every last Dagger Gang member. At first glance, these two events seemed to be unrelated. But on further thought, this was too much of a coincidence. The most suspicious point was that no one knew when Chen Xiaodao died. Or rather, those who knew, the entire Dagger Gang, perished alongside him. And at this point in time, who wanted Dagger Gang gone the most? Duan Feihong and the Wei siblings. Indeed, Duan Feihong could kill Chen Xiaodao in a public arena match. However, there were other members in the Dagger Gang who coveted the Wei family's businesses. Even if Chen Xiaodao died, the Dagger Gang would still have their eyes on the Wei siblings. Rather than staying passive, it would be much more efficient to take out the entire Dagger Gang at once. It was reasonable to suspect that Duan Feihong's challenge to Chen Xiaodao was nothing but a mere distraction to draw attention away from their actual operation, and that the Wei siblings had pulled off the perfect diversion tactic. Without any evidence, the Martial Suppression Office wouldn't be able to do anything to them. On the other hand, through this power play, the Wei family dojo could fully exert its dominance. The message was clear: from now on, anyone who covets the Wei family's businesses would suffer the same fate as the Dagger Gang. That's right, whether or not Wei Jiejia had anything to do with the Dagger Gang's annihilation, the Wei family would be the biggest winner out of this. The person who stands to gain the most is likely to be the murderer. Going by this rule, Wei Jiejia was inevitably the prime suspect. Even Su Jingxing had his suspicions about her on the way there, let alone Qi Zhaochen. Wei Jieping didn't think that much, but Wei Jiejia more or less figured it out. How frustrating. Wei Jiejia was stressed out of her mind. Su Jingxing's direct question and Qi Zhaochen's reaction made her so frustrated that she wished she could jump down a building and end it all. Their suspicions wouldn't have bothered her as much if the Dagger Gang's annihilation had really been her doing, but the problem was, it wasn't. She had no idea that Dagger Gang would get taken out so quickly. Heck, Chen Xiaodao was a 7th-grade martial artist, and his subordinates included 2 8th-grade guardians and 9 9th-grade heavenly kings. Apart from them, there were close to 100 syndicate members. She wondered how it was possible for the murderer to kill so many people without even making a sound. These were 100 people that's being talked about, not 100 pigs. It was impossible to even kill 100 pigs without making a din. Yet, the murderer was capable of all that. How could a little girl like her get such a person to do her biddings? Silence. Wei Jiejia was silent throughout the journey. Su Jingxing was taciturn as usual. Seeing that no one was conversational, Wei Jieping kept quiet as well. Corpse discovered. Would you like to extract it? Yes. Corpse discovered. Would you like to extract it? Yes. A series of notifications popped up in rapid succession as Su Jingxing followed Qi Zhaoqin into the building. He extracted cards from the corpses as he walked. Dead people. Dead people everywhere. Starting from the hall of the first floor, everywhere they went was strewn with corpses. The corpses weren't complete either, pieces of flesh, severed limbs, and various organs were scattered all over the place. That, combined with the overpowering smell of blood, made Wei Jieping go on all fours and throw up. Wei Jiejia puked too, but she soon managed to hold the vomit down. Suppressing her discomfort, she followed Qi Zhaoqin to the third floor. She wanted to see Qin Xiaodao's corpse for herself. If he was dead, she had to verify it with her own eyes, even if she was the prime suspect at the moment. Su Jingxing's reason was simpler. Qin Xiaodao was a 7th-grade martial artist. Su Jingxing was curious about the kind of reward that could be extracted from the corpse. He looked forward to it. They climbed the stairs to the third floor. Su Jingxing and Wei Jiejia followed Qi Zhaoqin into a spacious office. There, Wu Shuhan was hunkered down guarding a corpse. On his side stood Huang Boyi, the long-bearded old man, and a few others. They looked at the corpse's face. It was Qin Xiaodao. "What's going on here?" asked Wei Jiejia, confused. "Qin Xiaodao is still alive," said Qi Zhaoqin indifferently. His sharp eyes were fixed on Wei Jiejia and Su Jingxing. "What?" exclaimed Wei Jiejia. "He's not dead yet." Su Jingxing raised his eyebrows, pretending not to notice Qi Zhaoqin's gaze. With the human skin mask on, he could not freely change his expression even if he wanted to. In that case, he might as well maintain his indifferent facade and remain silent. Qi Zhaoqin noted their reactions. He was no longer paying attention to Wei Jiejia, and his eyes were on Su Jingxing. "Luckily for him, he had this dark iron chainmail on," said Wu Shuhan. The prized chainmail had mitigated most of the impact from the palm strike. Still, some of the force went through and broke most of his bones, shattered a number of internal organs, and inflicted severe internal injuries. Anyone else would have died under such circumstances, but Qin Xiaodao practices a special internal exercise that allows his internal force to envelop his heart. That managed to preserve his final breath. Qin Xiaodao lost consciousness before his final breath dissipated, which resulted in suspended animation. "When will he wake up?" asked Huang Boyi. "Beats me." Wu Shuhan shook his head. "I'm only capable of performing minor surgeries. The medical specialists would be more qualified to answer your question, but we'd have to wait for their arrival." Wu Shuhan wouldn't even have bothered to examine Qin Xiaodao if not for the sake of finding out who his assailant was. "I've already called. They'll send someone over soon," said Qi Zhaoqin huskily. "I hope they hurry," said Huang Boyi anxiously. If Qin Xiaodao couldn't make it through. Duan Feihong. Suddenly, Qin Xiaodao, still laying on his back, let loose a furious roar. His eyes snapped open. "Duan Feihong. I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill you." After the roar, Qin Xiaodao shot up to a standing position, despite his sternum being mostly broken. He scanned around with bloodshot eyes. When he saw Su Jingxing, he roared again. "Duan Feihong. I'm gonna kill you." Huff. His internal force stirred up a gust that carried the smell of blood. With his hands curled into the shape of sickles, Chen Xiaodao charged at Su Jingxing. Swish! Su Jingxing took a back step to avoid the blow. Swoosh! 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 With the swiftness of a tiger, Chen Xiaodao chased after Su Jingxing while launching crazed attacks with his claw-like hands that cut like knives. He was not only fast, but also terrifying powerful too. Skreek! 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 His claw-like hands left deep scratch marks on the walls whenever he missed. The space inside the office was limited, and Su Jingxing soon found himself forced into a corner. Danger alert! With his back to the wall, Su Jingxing realized that his life would be in danger if he didn't fight back. When Chen Xiaodao pounced at him again with his sharp claw-like hands aimed at his throat and chest, Su Jingxing immediately stopped holding back and took a step forward. Facing Chen Xiaodao, he executed the 7 steps fist. Thump! No! The cry sounded at the same time as a dull thud. The blow instantly caused Chen Xiaodao's arms to snap and his chest to cave in completely. Following that, he flew backward and crashed into the wall with a loud bang. Then, his body slid limply down the wall and to the ground. All was quiet again. Great, now we don't have to wait for the specialists to come. He's dead for real now, complained Wu Shuhan, throwing his hands up. He was giving Su Jingxing an odd look. Qi Zhaochen, Huang Boyi, Wei Jiejia, and the others all stared at Su Jingxing with varying expressions. Everything had happened too quickly. Less than 3 seconds had elapsed from the moment Chen Xiaodao suddenly woke up and attacked Su Jingxing to when Su Jingxing's punch killed him. In such a short amount of time, Qi Zhaochen and Huang Boyi couldn't have interfered even if they wanted to. Truth be told, Chen Xiaodao's death would not have mattered much if not for his last words. After waking up, he shouted the name, Duan Feihong, repeatedly as he attacked Su Jingxing madly. From his expression and behavior, he clearly wanted to take revenge on Duan Feihong for wounding him and killing everyone in the Dagger Gang. Did that mean Su Jingxing was the murderer?